I'm vegan and I love animals.
My name is Lulu Westlake and I'm vegan because killing animals is just so wrong to me and the environment matters more than a burger
Preach.
or anything. I'm just vegan for my health as well.
And your skin.
And my skin. These mean more to me than like eating them for our own enjoyment, and it's just so wrong for the planet. I mean, 70% of agriculture is used just for cows, and cows have been proven to have complex emotions, not as intense as humans, but yeah.
Raise a paw, raise a fist. Let's not be speciesist. Animal rights, human rights. Unite to fight for justice.
And I'll stay a vegan. It's a long story, but I feel a lot better, let's put it that way. It was political, but it's too long a story, but it's the right decision.
Cruelty-free for the planet, for the animals, and for yourself. I just turned 40 and I went vegetarian back when I was in my early 20s. So it's been a journey, and that's okay. And everybody is at a different place in that journey. It's just a matter of trying the best you can. And now that I am more recently vegan, I feel amazing. Emotionally, physically, health-wise, my cholesterol was out of control, and I'm just turned 40, so I'm hoping that's still young. And my health was starting to go downhill, so that was another motivation besides living a cruelty-free as much as possible lifestyle. So it's a win-win, and I feel great. He agrees with me. I was about 22, 23. I stopped eating meat. I was introduced actually to Farm Sanctuary, Gene Bauer's farm in upstate New York, Watkins Glen, New York. Once I started educating myself, it became harder and harder. You know, and people that eat meat are not bad people. I used to be one of those people because you disassociate so much. You see food, you don't see animal, and it's not food. It's an animal, it's a sentient being that has feelings just like you or I. The more I educated myself and exposed myself to what was the reality, what was going on, over time, the less able I was, and the connection was just there. And once you have that connection, you don't even want it. It's a journey for everybody. Everybody's raised differently, and the majority of us, no matter where you're from, usually heavily meat-based. So it's not always the easiest thing to change your perspective on something that we kind of mindlessly or blindlessly engaged in. But, you know, you have a choice, and you can choose to learn about it, and that's the first step, and make your choices after that. And I think people are mostly good people, and everybody would probably come to the same conclusion that the exploitation of animals for food or products or clothing is just not okay. It's been great. I'm actually excited to eat now because you can make new things. Like the other day, I just made carrot bacon. Who would have thunk? There's all kinds of products out there, even vegan tuna fish and, oh my God, mayonnaise and veganese and, oh, I mean, it's just delicious. And I'm a foodie. I grew up Italian, and you give me the food and the cheese, and we've been able to recreate a lot of really good stuff and eat a lot. We're talking full meals here, not seeds, and if you're into that, that's great, but I want to eat, and I am. This morning, I had vegan pancakes and sausage. It was delicious. I was full, and if somebody just gave that to me and didn't tell me, I would have never known. So times have changed, and the options and the opportunity to live healthy and to live cruelty-free and to have that peace of mind, I'm telling you, it makes the food taste much better. It really does. I've always been a part of different kinds of activism, definitely in terms of changing the laws for animals that are factory farmed, in regards to getting them at least more space. That is such a tiny thing to start with, but when it comes to learning more about the back end and what's going on and why slaughterhouses don't have windows and all that stuff, that's where I've supported a lot of organizations that do that, get out there. For the most part right now, I'm just trying to be the example that I would like to see. So I have to to become, just lead by example in regards to everyday decisions and share the food. If you're making vegan mac and cheese, share it around, and to see people enjoying it is great. And then all of a sudden people start to think a little differently. Like maybe this isn't a faux pas and the word vegan isn't a stamp for radical, like, oh, this is actually a really cool, peaceful lifestyle that's healthy and tastes good. Historically, you want to be healthy, you gotta eat a salad. Talk to a vegan and you will be eating a lot of stuff in addition to that salad. In terms of supporting, like I mentioned before, Farm Sanctuary in Watkins Glen, I was a very big supporter of what they do on every level. Politically, in terms of changing the laws, and that's where we really have to start. People for the ethical treatment of animals, but really, the almighty dollar. Where are you putting your money and what's the impact of where you're putting your money? That's something you can do in your everyday life. I think sometimes, for me anyway, the reason I keep saying it's a journey is that when you think about all the suffering that's happening every minute, it's very overwhelming. And I think a lot of people are very much turned off by being around somebody that feels so strongly about all animals, because it's like, oh my God, I don't want to hear about it. It's horrible. Nobody wants to hear about it. So this is a positive thing, and living this life can be a cruelty-free life. It's fun and it's exciting, and you never know what you're going to make, what you're going to create. We're liaisons, right? For animals that don't have a voice, we really have to be a voice. So we do have to step up, and we do have to speak about the cruelty that people might not know, but that's just an education. And then from there, looking into local organizations about how we can change the laws, I think is next. Even if you don't know a lot about government and laws, it doesn't matter. There's organizations out there that will spell it out, and those are places where you want to visit and see where the money is being utilized and making sure that there's an impact there for animals and how they're treated, even prior to slaughter. So we're not even talking about should we eat them or not, or should we murder them or not. It's more so how are they treated prior to slaughter, and there's ultimately not a lot of rights for animals that are being mistreated. I take pictures. What did we make just the other day? Most everything, because I'm just excited about it. A lot of it is new products or using vegan products in a different way and just kind of recreating things. I'm always taking pictures, and I'm always excited to have people try it. And you would never think like that, more so than just being a vegan diet, that it kind of brings you closer with the people around you. Because food does that. They say food is love, and you become so much more connected with the food when it's a vegan diet, and bringing people closer and just watching their expression like, oh, they're gonna love this. They're never gonna think this is vegan. And then they're like, wow, this is great. What is this? And it's like, it's plant-based. Surprise! They're like, no way, no, it's not. This tastes amazing. If this is what it tastes like, I'd be vegan. If I had a penny every time I heard that. That's been really fun, actually, with the vegan lifestyle more recently. I'm very excited to share. My mother-in-law is from Ecuador. Raised solely. A lot of the Latin cuisine is very much meat-based, but they didn't have a lot of money growing up, so they were, by default, vegetarians for the most part. But anyway, it's a diet and cultural diet very much based on meat, which a lot are. So I share a lot of what I'm making with her. I think I made portobello steaks the other night with a baked potato, vegan butter, vegan sour cream with chives. Oh my God! So, I made a little bit for her, and it's like, we put it on the grill, it had those grill marks, it was just, and she tried it, and she was like, that's absolutely delicious. If you didn't tell me, it tastes like steak, because there's caramelization on there, and it's got the love all over it. When I kind of sneak that by, people that I know have not really been exposed to it, and really you just ate whatever you got, and meat or whatnot. But even her, I had a conversation, and she was very curious about, here in America, where does the meat come from, what happens? And learning a little bit more about gestation crates and what we do to veal and baby animals and male chicks. She almost fell off the couch. She's like, in Ecuador, that is not what we might be third world, but they're out on the farm and they're loose and free. And when it's time, unfortunately, then they do murder the animal. But if I would have known that, I wouldn't have wanted to support buying anything here meat-based. And she might not even be aware of that, of what really goes on even in other countries.
That's part like one of the habit and also lack of what to go through exactly. I mean, obviously we're good.
I know, but that's not what.
Hi, my name's Will. I went vegan in August of 2018. I was vegetarian since college. I'm almost 50 years old now. So I thought I was doing enough, and it wasn't until Michelle, my girlfriend, introduced me to fully going vegan and the damage that even as vegetarians we still do to the animals, the cows, the chickens who lay eggs. So I've been an activist since August of 2018 promoting veganism.
My name is Antonio, and I'm a vegan activist. I'm also vegan for 24 years, and I'm 53 years old. We're here to defend animals here in New York City, and on this beautiful day right here. But as you can see, this very unusual weather of 70, 75 degrees in November, it tells you that sure, we maybe enjoy as humans. What about the climate change, what's happening in the North Pole? Why is that the polar bears are having a hard time with the ice? Because of animal agriculture. Now, when somebody comes up to us and tell me that I love drinking milk or love eating steak or lamb, I tell them, you know what? You're putting yourself in jeopardy. Because if you like heart attack, diabetes, cholesterol, arthritis, all this is caused for animal agriculture. Carbohydrates doesn't give you fat. That's absolutely not true. What we're saying to you is this: being vegan, you become healthier, you become more aware, you become more ethical for the animals. Because would you eat a cat or a dog? Why not? They're animals. How about if I give you a dog right now? Would you kill in front of me? No, you will not. But you pay somebody to kill when you go to the supermarket for the cows and chickens and fishes and lambs, right? Why? If women are free, blacks are free, Latinos are free, indigenous are free, why isn't that animals cannot be free? Injustice doesn't stay forever. Animals will be free. So go vegan. It's been a pleasure. Peace out. Vegans for all causes.
Hi, I'm Christina. I've been vegan for 5 years. I love the animals. The reason I became vegan is because I had that little understanding once I watched a documentary. Since I was little, I always used to wonder why we were eating animals, and I would want to play with chickens. They were so cute. I couldn't understand that connection. Now I do, and I feel so much better. The plus side is that I'm no longer a pre-diabetic. It's a plus. So even I didn't do it for my health, I wind up fixing that too. I believe it was forks over knives, and it just opened my eyes to a lot of things. And that same week, I changed. I converted everything. Once you start knowing what it is that you can do and tweaking the recipes, making them taste even better than they have been, that's all that matters. People like taste, right? It's all about flavor. It has nothing to do with meat. It's all about the right flavors to incorporate in the dishes. I don't eat anything that's from an animal. I wind up doing activism. I wind up finding out all the bad side about what they do to the animals because I didn't see it. And that's another thing that they like to hide, what they do to the animals. It's convenient. You see it all cut up already in the stores. You don't know what that body went through. So it's definitely life-changing for me. I don't want to put back negativity in my body. They suffered, so I don't want that inside my body. I don't want to ruin my soul.
I'm vegan because animals should not be exploited for us to live. We don't need to eat them. We're better off without them, actually. Plants have protein. Everything has protein. They sell us all these lies so that we think we need it. They have feelings, like a dog and a cat, like any other companion animal. You see it in their eyes, like individuals. Every single one of them. And they purr just like cats. Chickens, they purr just like cats. In a sanctuary, I've held chickens before and you can feel them vibrating. And they like purr, you can hear it and everything. It's just like any other companion animal. You get to know them and then you love them and then you don't feel like you need to eat them. Everybody should go to a sanctuary, even if you're not vegan, just so that you can see and hear their stories of how they even got there in the first place. Yeah, they're rescued from factory farms and slaughterhouses, live markets in the city. They come from near-death experiences. It's cool to see them enjoying their lives in a nice green field. I'm vegan for the animals. I've always been an animal lover, so I figured it just came kind of naturally. I just naturally stopped eating meat, and then once I started informing myself about like what happens to animals in every industry, I figured I have to be vegan. It wasn't a choice. It just was something that I had to do. I've been vegan for almost 3 years now, but I was vegetarian before that for 6 years. I went vegetarian in high school thinking like that was enough because I loved animals. I had the idea that animals didn't die for eggs or cheese. But then when I got the information, I was like, oh, okay, now I have to be vegan. I think it was a film, but I think it probably was Earthlings. I think it was Earthlings that we saw. And that was my first year in college. It was just knowing everything that goes into all the things that I thought didn't include death, like eggs and milk. But once I figured that out, I was like, okay, like that's it. You see where the chickens go after they're done laying the eggs, or even where they live, they died during the process. And then the chicks, they get ground up alive. I never knew that. They have to sex them apart because male chickens don't lay eggs. So when they find out that they're male, they get grounded up alive. I feel like I always knew that cows had to be pregnant to have milk, but in my mind I didn't know, like, I just figured like the baby cows just lived out their lives and whatever, but it turns out that the baby cows, if they're male, they get killed, and if they're female, then they get to live the same life as the moms, which is a life of being pregnant and then being killed after their milk declines. Cowspiracy was a really big one for me. That one was always a pretty informative one because it talked about a lot of the aspects around the meat industry, which included like the health hazards for humans, the environment. So that really made me have a full-rounded understanding of why it's important to be vegan, not only for the animals, but for everything else. And I also read the book Eating Animals, and that book is really good too, because it has a deep description of every industry. If you don't want to watch it, you can read about it, and it's almost the same thing. And then, what else? Oh, I read Not As Nature Intended, an investigator's book. That's a really good book. The person who wrote it spent his whole life going into these industries, documenting, like posing as a worker. So he has firsthand experience talking about how they are in those industries.
I am vegan. I went vegan at 49 years old after being completely programmed by society, tradition, all the nonsensical reasons that people give to eat animals. I ate animals or their secretions at every single meal. I had fibromyalgia, I had high blood pressure, I had IBS, which was really lactose intolerance. I had asthma my entire life. After getting off dairy, I no longer have used an inhaler or singular. And I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fibromyalgia, asthma, and IBS. Yeah, so I'm on no medications now at 51. I feel better at 51 than I did at 30. But what happened was I heard a TED Talk from Earthling Ed. I had never seen any of this footage. I didn't see my first animal ag footage until I was at something called Anonymous for the Voiceless, a cube. That's the first time I ever saw what happened to the animals, and I was right there with other people who I was supposed to be outreaching in complete shock and feeling sick in my stomach. All I did was I heard a TED Talk about the animal ag industry, and I heard him describing chopping up someone's body parts and eating them, and I thought to myself, what are we doing? Like, it's so barbaric. What are we, like Neanderthals? Like, this is ridiculous. So I went vegan on the spot. No transition, no baby steps, none of that. When you know better, you have an obligation to do better. Once you know what happens, you morally, ethically have an obligation to do better for yourself, for the planet, for the animals mostly. Obviously, as a mother of a 27 and a 24-year-old, I can't be a part of putting a female cow on a rape rack, raping her, taking her child away so that we can drink milk, which is toxic for us anyway. It feeds breast cancer, so it's ironic that Susan B. Komen has it on the little ribbons on the dairy and the yogurts when it's feeding cancer cells. Baby cows are who should be drinking milk, not us. You need to do what's best for you, for your spirit, for the animals. It's not sustainable, it's killing our planet. I've had people say to me, well, what about fish? Well, first of all, fish feel pain, okay? And everyone perseverates on plastic bottles and plastic bags and all of these kinds of things, and that big Texas-sized mass of plastic that's in the ocean, everyone thinks it's all that. 78% of it is actually fishing gear because they have a quota and they're trying to feed a world of people who want to eat fish. So when their nets get caught, they don't just go down and nicely untangle them. They cut that and they keep it moving. So fishing industry is polluting the world as much as it is our own bodies. They're full of mercury. They're just unnecessary. Obviously, you can get omegas from algae. Yeah, omegas actually come from algae, not from fish. People think it's from fish. The fish get it from algae. Just like protein comes. Protein comes from the soy and the stuff that the animals eat. It doesn't come from the animal flesh. And all we're doing is filtering our protein through these animals. It's killing us. It's, they're so full of antibiotics. I mean, aside from just the cruelty that it causes in the animal agriculture industry, there's the deforestation. It's the reason the Amazon is on fire. It's the reason that Australia is burning, because we keep clearing this land to put more cattle. If we stopped feeding all the soy to the cattle, we could literally cure world hunger. It takes so much more soy and water for a pound of animal flesh than it would if we would just feed it directly to ourselves. And there's no reason for us to filter it through the animal and then eat that. And then from a spiritual standpoint, if you think about the fact that energy never dies, it just changes. So if you're eating the energy of an animal that was enslaved its entire life, it was tortured and then murdered, and all of that fear and all of that tortured energy, then when you eat that flesh becomes part of you. That's why people are anxious, that's why people are on prescriptions, that's why they're suffering from all this anxiety, because they're getting a steady diet of murdered animal energy, and it manifests itself through disease. Milk has bovine in it, it has antibiotics in it. The egg industry, first of all, if you look up eggs in the American Dietetic Association, they are not a health food. They have more cholesterol and fat than they do protein. They're not even considered a health food. The male chicks all have to die so that people can have eggs. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I have farm eggs. Those eggs still came from factory farming at some point, and it still contributes to the fact that these male chicks are ground alive, and that these hens, their bodies are tortured and they're used until they're spent, and then they're slaughtered also. Eggs are not necessary and they're not sustainable. I went vegan in June of 2018, it'll be 2 years in June. I went vegan in June. I started doing activism in the early part of August. Naively thought to myself, well, I gotta go out and tell everybody because nobody knows this. They obviously can't know this, because if they knew this, they wouldn't contribute to it. I really just thought that everybody was like me and had never thought about it, and that we were all just very heavily programmed by tradition and government and this whole thing of keeping us sick and addicted. So found out very soon that some people do know and they just don't really care. It's kind of sad, but I'm going to keep trying my best to spread the message and bring awareness. My daughter went vegan 2 months before I did. She's 24 years old. She's an activist herself. She is a brilliant activist and very well versed in activism and whatnot. She's actually on a road trip right now with her boyfriend across the country. They've been talking to truck drivers that transport animals and doing some education all along their road trips. He is not vegan. He lives in the city. He lives actually in the Bronx, and no, he's not vegan. He's a little bit removed from us right now by his own choice. He's got to find his own way. Animal agriculture industry is highly supported. Billions of dollars in bailouts go to the animal agriculture industry, even during COVID, when all of these animals could not be processed, aka slaughtered, murdered, and cut up into little pieces. They still were giving huge bailouts. They give billions of dollars. That's why milk and eggs and cheese and all this stuff and flesh of animal is so cheap, because it's highly subsidized. If we started subsidizing some of the plant-based options, then it'd be a lot more affordable. However, having said that, beans, rice, vegetables are extremely economical. You don't have to do the mock meats. That's okay for transition. It's okay if you like that. But if you go whole foods, plant-based, it's actually very affordable. This is VAA. It's a Vegan Activist Alliance. It is a grassroots organization that we put together after having left Anonymous for the Voiceless to just do outreach. It's a group of people that want to bring some positivity, want to bring some information to people. We do this all of our own free will. We don't get paid for it, and we do it on our free time. Most of us work full-time jobs. I work 48 hours a week, 48, and this is how I spend my free time because I want to meet that one person who, like myself, just had no clue. And once they hear it, they understand, and they make the connection, and they make better choices. And mostly just because I don't think some people may know. I know there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, but I really had never made the connection. It's such normalized violence. You just go into the grocery store, you pick up a piece of animal flesh. It's all full of pink dye, and it looks all like meat, and it's packaged, and you're just so removed from how that animal got there. You're removed from the fact that it was cut up into little pieces. You're removed from the fact that it had its throat slit.